Hey everyone, and welcome back to week 5 of the Pokeball Draft League. This week we are going up against the Canadian Cub Chews, a team that also operates in Trick Room, so I was a little bit worried about it this week, just seeing how we were going to match up. I knew he had a lot of priority moves, and as we went over in our Team Builder video released earlier this week, we are bringing things like Psychic, Terrain, and Taunt to try to slow them down. To start off this game, I wanted to go with Torkoal, who I really like opening with just because of the amount of respect they have to put up on Eruption in Sunlight. And then I also decided to go with Rabsca. It was either Rabsca or Hatterene, and for setting up a Trick Room, and I would rather risk Rabsca this early on than Hatterene. I felt like Hatterene would be able to do way more damage later on. I didn't want it going down to something like a first impression Slither or Iron Moth straight away. One thing I didn't consider, because he did start off with that Iron Moth, is that we trigger his photosynthesis with Drought. I hadn't thought about that. So my initial thought on this turn 1 is that he's going to try to stop Eruption in Sunlight. So I go for the Protect, thinking he might fake out first impression it, and I just try to get Trick Room up right away. Unfortunately, as you guys are about to find out, he breaks the Focus Sash with Fake Out, and then we eat a first impression. That turn 1 sucked a lot. I think in like the Discord chat, I just told him GG. I was pretty sure this one was over. So I still want to get Trick Room down. So I'm considering Brute Bonnet. Do I just proc Brute Bonnet's photosynthesis against this? I'm like, I don't really want Brute Bonnet to go in against a Iron Moth that probably has another bug move for 4 times effective damage plus a Salazzle, who just hits me super effectively. The Salazzle was a bit of a difference that I wasn't expecting. I didn't notice he picked up Salazzle in the free agency window this week, so I was not prepared for it whatsoever. Acid Spray and Hatterene, luckily we're pretty specially bulky. He gets a crit. Without the crit, we would have been even better. But I'm like, alright, Hatterene can at least fire off a Psychic into it. And then I didn't think he'd go into Torkoal again, so that's why I hit Eruption instead of just Heat Wave. I didn't do the calcs. Heat Wave might have been able to OHKO the Slitherwing, Iron Moth. I can never remember which one it is. The Volcarona clone. I'm just going to call it Volcarona clone. That's what we're going to do. But we get Trick Room up, which is good. And then here, it's like, do I really want to put more pressure on with this Hatterene? And the answer is no, I might need it for Trick Room later. I play too fast here. I wanted to go into King Gambit. I knew another Acid Spray was coming in. I just played too fast and misclick on Hariyama. But I had to read on this Acid Spray. There's the Heat Wave. KOs the Iron Moth. This could have been a perfect turn. This could have been perfect. Because we do get Acid Sprayed. We could have taken no damage, KO'd one of his Mons, still had Trick Room up, and just, we would have been great. It would have been no problem. We would have been smooth sailing. So already 2 big misplays this game. Not, like, misreading who he's going to go into on turn 1 and not switching into the King Gambit. Now, Sableye, this could be an issue for us. But this week, as you'll see on the Hariyama, we brought something to try to deal with Sableye. This week might show me that I'm a little too protect happy, as I think he's going to finish up Torkoal. But I decided to go for double protect for the fake out protection that I think he's going to go for. It uses up a turn of Sunlight and it uses up a turn of Trick Room, which is a little interesting. But I didn't want to miss guess on the fake out, so I figured I'd just go for safety. There's the fake out. And go from there. Overheat and Sun, it's good to know he has that, so we have to be careful about that in the Sunlight going forward as well. Take a little bit more damage from that, but that's fine. So I could go for double protect again. At this point, I'm considering Terra. The Torkoal instead of Heat Wave. I mean, I'm too low for Eruption. And then it's either Rock Slide to get rid of the Salazzle, or we knock off the Sableye. Just get rid of whatever annoying item it's holding. The Quash was interesting. If he thought he could kill my Hariyama, maybe? But in general, I'm not a huge fan of that Quash. I was going to outspeed him anyway with the Torkoal. So he would have had to KO the Hariyama with Salazzle, and maybe with Overheat that was happening, but... so that was a pretty strong turn for us. Sunlight goes down, but we get rid of his Ouroboros and his Sableye. We have 3 of his Mons down. He still has the Oranguru, the Lurantis. I actually forget what his 6 Mon is right now. Oh, Annihilate. This and the Lurantis, which both came out right now. These are the 2 I was worried about. These were the 2 Pokemon with the most offensive pressure on his team, I felt like. Iron Moth could do a lot. Whatever Volcarona clone is. It could do a lot, but it's not what I thought would win the game for him. Although that turn 1 made me reconsider. So the Terra into water was not something I considered. I need to do a better job of trying to get used to defensive typings for my opponent. It's something I've tried to take advantage of for myself. But it's not something I've considered for them when team building. The knockoff is helpful, gets rid of the leftovers. This thing was incredibly bulky. And then the burn was also incredibly lucky. Yeah, the bulk up's an issue. Now we have to find out if... yeah. That, I still don't have the timings down on Trick Room yet. I know it's a simple Google search, but keeping track of them is a little bit of an issue for me right now. It's just not ingrained in me yet. So I decided to go with Brute Bonnet. Gives me a speed tier. Like, gives me faster speed to outspeed the Lurantis. I don't know if it will outspeed the Annihilate, but I know Lurantis has something like 40 base speed. So just protect the Torkoal for an extra turn, and then see if we can get a little bit of pressure off on that. Or off with the Brute Bonnet, just get a little bit of damage in. This Drain Punch plus the bulk up makes this way bulkier than I would like, but I knew I wanted to shut down the Lurantis as well. The Terra Water was an issue for my team. It's not something I was looking forward to games 2 and 3 if it got that far. We actually might have been able to just Bullet Seed, which, looking back now, might have been the play. Actually, that was probably the smarter play. But I wasn't sure if I was going to outspeed the Annihilate. So, I should have just Bullet Seeded. I'm kicking myself now, looking back at it. Yep, that's an issue. We had loaded dice on this thing. So I think we're pretty much guaranteed a one-shot KO even at full health. And even without the photosynthesis boost, because Sunlight had worn off by the time Brute Bonnet switched in. But we dealt with one of his threats. Now we just have Oranguru and Annihilate left. Got the burn off. He's Drain Punching, which is fine. Now he's Oranguru. So this opponent, I mentioned the team builder, I'd been able to scout out a little bit from his week before. The only other guy recording in the league right now faced Toasty, coach of the Canadian Cubchus, the week before. So I was able to scout out what the Oranguru set likely was, and what I remember off the top of my head was Trick Room, Foul Play, Instruct. Those were like the 3 big ones. Brute Bonnet in case I need it later. But Hatterene, it would really resist the Drain Punch even with the bulk up there. And the Protect just to stop him from trying to do it. And, I mean, we take next to nothing. Even with the Instruct. I figured he was going to go for Instruct to try to get a double KO. Because my guess is it would have KO'd the Torkoal too, but instead it does 36 total damage. He gets to next to no healing. At this point, I was hoping Burn was going to kill. No such luck, unfortunately. But now we just have this. I can Heat Wave in front of him. It's like, do I Protect, thinking he's going to try to finish it off, or do I just put on more pressure, or do I try to guarantee the win with Trick Room? Because I think my only surprise on this Hatterene is the Mystical Fire, and I'm pretty sure this is the week I ran Light Orb on it. So I figured just Terra, Dazzling Gleam. He does have a foul play on the Oran Guru. But Terra Fairy should help deal with that. And I'm not too worried about whatever the Annihilate brings. Unless, you know, it's Rage Fist. Which I don't know how I forgot Annihilate had it, but that's okay. He put something into there. So we get one Trick Room up this game. And hopefully it's enough. The Heat Wave took out the Annihilate, but now I think we're in pretty good shape. Just has the Oran Guru left. I'm not sure why he did that. Maybe my thought at the time was he did it expecting me to go, or to use Trick Room myself on Hatterene. But if he was going to outspeed it and KO it anyway, I'm not sure what the thought process was. So anyway, King Gambit's pretty strong with Supreme Overlord at the moment. We can do a Kowtow Cleave and this wraps it up. Especially because he luckily put Trick Room up for us. This was a really interesting game one. We learned a lot about him and identified a big threat in the Water Terra Lurantis. But him having such a great turn one, really, I thought this was over. And luckily, we were able to just put up enough pressure and have enough offensive power to lock it down. So good game for game one. Alrighty, so going into game two, I have to decide what I'm going to lead off again. So I decided to go with Hatterene Brute Bonnet. It's pretty interesting. It gives me a lot of different coverage. The thing it does struggle with, though, is that Volcarona clone. But I can either get Trick Room up, or I can Spore things with Brute Bonnet. The other opportunity is I can also switch Hatterene out for the Torkoal and get Drought up, perhaps surprisingly, proccing the Photosynthesis before Brute Bonnet attacks, which would do a lot of extra damage against him, either with the Bullet Seed or anything else we brought. This was a pretty scary start, because there's the bulk up, there's the First Impression, which destroys Brute Bonnet. So I decided to just go for it, I think. Again, I'm recording this a little late again this week. Figure just go for it, and since we're probably eating a First Impression, I considered switching out. I'm trying to figure out what do I have that wants to eat it, and I decided to go, you know what, never mind, we're just going to go for our setup and just try to make it go. I don't think the Dazzling Gleam would have been an awful idea. Which is fine, we eat that. That's about the only thing I really wanted eating it, and then Rage Fist. Okay. Yeah, the Harryan was really the only thing I wanted eating a First Impression. I mean, Hatterene takes 4 times damage. Torkoal really weakens his Eruption. Rabska gets 1 shot on it because it takes 4 times damage. Like, we were weak to Bug this week, which was an issue to be sure. So now I'm trying to figure out how the heck do I deal with this Annihilate. I wasn't too upset by that Protect. I wasn't worried about it. Like, I wasn't worried about the Marigold that turn. I just want to deal with this Annihilate. As I said during the last battle, the Annihilate and the Lurantis were the two I was really worried about. And if I could shut them down, so especially so I couldn't pair with Oran Guru, I was going to be pretty happy. Oran Guru without Instruct just is not horribly scary in general. At least I didn't think so. Maybe he can bring something one week. Or she can bring something one week. That would surprise me with Oran Guru, but I wasn't scared of it this week. Oran Guru suffers a little bit from what I call all my friends are dead syndrome, which is why I always have, or almost always have, at least one attacking move on all of my Pokemon. Just so if they're out there alone, they can do something. Seeing who he decided to, I believe it was Fake Out into. The Salazzle having Fake Out. Had that, yep. Guessed correctly. Which was huge. Then Rock Slide just does a ton of work. The Superpower was aggravating. I knew he had it because you used it last battle, excuse me. I just didn't think it was going to do that much. But now his Volcarona clone, whatever the heck it is weakened quite a bit. But I have Trick Room up. I'm figuring why not put out Torkoal. I did forget it gives him a boost, but again, we're faster. So I wasn't too worried about it. The special defense going up was a little aggravating, though. Or just click Eruption, see what we can take out. I don't think he has anything that's fast enough to deal with it, and I'm feeling fairly likely I can probably pick up a double KO this turn. It does that, which is fine, and then we just take out the Salazzle. I mean, even if you're a Salazzle, you're facing a full hit point Torkoal in the sun with Charcoal. It's gonna do a decent chunk of damage. Unless you're above, like, half health or have Flash Fire, you're, probably not making out well. Sableye, again, is an issue. Now, here, I figure he's going to swap it out because it's already weakened and it doesn't want to deal with stuff in the sun. And we hit his swap. Is it this turn? Yes. It was either Lurantis or Oran Guru. So we take a Fake Out, and then we get this off. The Mystical Fire into the Lurantis. I remember Toasty saying, just, the fuck was that read? And I agree. This is one of my better reads of the entire season so far. At this point, we're kind of just chilling. I'm not sure really what Toasty can do in this situation. Taking out the Annihilate, the Volcarona clones in the back line. Lurantis is severely weakened. Salazzle's down. I think we've only lost Hariyama. Again, the Quash comes out, but unless you're KOing me with this... The Terra Blast water sucked. But we had Sunlight up. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So there we go. We get Trick Room back up. At this point, he has to quash something, and I'm pretty sure both of these have a lower speed than his Lurantis. I think Lurantis is a base speed of like 40. Torkoal has a base speed of 20, I want to say. So I think we're going to try to take out the Torkoal. We get it quashed. Or we protect from the quash. And then it didn't really matter, but My guess is he was going to do what I talked about in the last game. We're trying to KO it before it could actually move with Quash. And with Terra Lurantis, that definitely could have happened. You saw what it did the previous Terra Blast. But we got the Protect on the Quash, and again, it didn't matter. Life Orb, Hatterene. So he has Orn Guru and his... I think it's Iron Moth. Maybe it's Slitherwing. Yeah. So there might be a Protect on one of them, or it might just go for First Impression. And so I decided to go for double Protect. I'd forgotten I used Protect on Torkoal the turn before. So we kind of got lucky. But I knew First Impression was coming. I didn't want to deal with it. If he had read it, or sorry, if she had read it, Toasty had read it, she might have been able to get Trick Room to counter mine. But I think she was just looking for more offensive pressure. So we lose Sunlight. The Photosynthesis wore off, but we're still in a decent protection. We have Trick Room up. And the only thing I'm really concerned about now is the Volcarona clone. I'm just going to call it Volcarona clone. But even so, we have that, and then it's just a matter of trying to clean up the Orn Guru, and we still have King Gambit in the back. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like I said, now it's just mop-up duty. Hatterene does go down. It did its job. We'll put in King Gambit. But yeah, we still had Brute Bonnet and Rabska in the back. We still had Revival Blessing in our Trick Room setter. We were chill in this game. It was the previous game that was a little tougher. But once we got a handle of how things were going to go, this is just to be sure. We don't keep track of like Pokemon differential or anything. But just in case, that's going to clean it up. So good games to Toasty. This was one I was a little worried about. And game one, I was certainly worried after that turn one. Hopefully I don't have to face him again, especially not in playoffs, because that's going to be scary. But GG's, and see everyone next week.